Okay, welcome back, everybody. Okay, so last week we read the fourth topic, which is quite short. We focused a lot on the first part here with the question and answer. So today I want to look at the in short summary. And then I think we will pause there or maybe just read a little bit into the conclusion. And once we resume after Ramadan, we'll probably start again with that conclusion just because it is a summary of the previous topics. So from last week, some of what I've been thinking about over the week is how to frame and like be present with my experience of God's plan for me in every different kind of circumstance. So if you guys will remember, the question last week was in the first topic, you proved that everything about divine determining is good and beautiful, even the evil that comes from it is good, and the ugliness beautiful. But the disasters and tribulations in this world refute that statement. And this was something that we found pretty relatable. So we talked about how to see those evil things, the rebellion, calamities, defects, tribulations, disasters, in a way that is not ignoring how I feel about them, whether it is anger or frustration or sadness, but one that's also not me lying to myself and just saying stuff because that's what I learned. So this is something that I think has been a main crux in our study of Qadar. And one thing that I liked, we talked about last week was when I'm looking at a flower, right? The flower itself is beautiful. And then its bloom, its withering, the message it's carrying through those stages with its life cycle, they're all beautiful. So at every stage of its creation, it's communicating something else to me. And each one of those messages are beautiful in a unique way. So even when the flower is withering or, no longer in bloom, no longer outwardly beautiful, the message that it signifies, it points to, it's still beautiful. And Dr. Yamina, would you like to say your comment?
Carry on, inshallah.
Okay. I'll just read it for reference. Surrender trustingly, cause we know God with his beautiful names. We choose to acknowledge our Maker's rububiyyah, surrender to obey his will. Yeah, and so this part that we'll read again is really about those impresses of the bestower of life's names. And the metaphor we get here is something that I want to focus on this week a little bit more, inshallah. And another thing that really stayed with me from last week was something that we talked about before, which is when calamities are coming my way, what we are regularly translating as calamity, right? The root of that word, musiba, it's coming from something being on target for me. So whatever is happening in my life, even when I don't like it, even when I see it as a disaster, even if it is on the outside a disaster, it's not random. It's 100% custom made, tailored for me and my experience. So, I think knowing that and just remembering that as I go through different things is really important. Um, and again, the point here isn't when something happens, I am in this like utopian state of mind and I'm just not affected by anything. I'm super nonchalant. It's that um, the pain, fear, anxiety, they are transformed. They're not gotten rid of. So I receive the message from the pain, from the disappointment, from the anxiety, and I welcome them in this way. It doesn't mean that because I believe in Qadar or because I know that it's coming from God that I'm just not going to feel any of those things. It just means I will receive them in a different way, inshallah. Those are my notes. If anyone else would like to share anything, please go ahead, and then we'll start reading, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. I wasn't going to add anything, Nurbanu, because I believe that you covered everything. But for myself, as a reminder to myself, and something that you already repeated, and just very briefly, what's most I guess the first step, which is most intriguing to me from last week, is that was shared from Sister Ziba's reflection, is as the things are happening, and we've been talking about it, less than preferable. That's a kind way. The things that we're made to dislike. Dr. Yamina was sharing how there's this shift from anxiety to curiosity. Only if truly I have made Shahada and I'm convinced that the one who brings things into existence does so with perfect knowledge and perfect wisdom. So while it's easy to get lost in the causal chain, so looking at the face that points to creation and the shortcoming in that, to remember that this event, this happening that I am made to dislike, is specifically brought into existence for me by the same being. Then, if I have made Shahada, if I have some sort of operating relationship where I'm regularly remembering that the one acting in my life is acting with love, care, teaching in the best way, in a flawless way, which is why our last series on tasbih and angels and joining this glorification of creation is so important as a prerequisite, because it's only when we are grounded in witnessing the signs that there's a being beyond this universe that is demonstrating itself to me with love and care and showing its infinite knowledge, then if I focus on the face that points to this being, then inshallah, at least the very first step, I can shift from anxiety, anger, uh, being reactive to curiosity, and really humility. And Dr. Yamina has said this in the past, the humility of, I really don't know, the wisdom, I don't know, and being humble and surrendering to that as opposed to reactive. And then inshallah, we talked about, like Nurbanu shared, tawakkul and sabr. So, Bismillah.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so let's get started, inshallah. I'll read the answer again. And this was something that I highlighted because I remember last week, I think it was Syra, she had said something like when you have these challenging circumstances, you actually show more signs of life. And I really liked that. And I was thinking about that this week too. So I'll just read it again to refresh our memories, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Just in case there's anyone new joining us, we are reading the 26th word from the words by Imam Said Nursi, and this 26th word is his treatise on divine determining / Qadar. Okay, fourth topic. If you say, in the first topic, you proved that everything about divine determining is good and beautiful. Even the evil that comes from it is good, and the ugliness beautiful. But the disasters and tribulations in this world refute that statement. The answer. O my soul and my friend who feels severe pain out of intense compassion. The facts that all virtues and perfections return to existence, and that the basis of all rebellion, calamities, and defects is non-existence, are a proof that existence is pure good and non-existence pure evil. Since non-existence is pure evil, circumstances that either result in non-existence or give an inkling of it also comprise evil. Therefore, life, the most brilliant light of existence, proceeding through different circumstances, finds strength. It encounters varying situations and is purified. It takes on numerous qualities and produces the desired results and enters many stages and displays comprehensively the impresses of the bestower of life's names. It is due to this fact that certain things happen to living creatures in the form of griefs, calamities, difficulties, and tribulations, whereby the lights of existence are renewed in their lives, and the darkness of non-existence draws distant, and their lives are purified. For arrest, repose, silence, idleness, rest, and monotony are all, both in quality and as conditions, non-existence. Even the greatest pleasure is reduced to nothing by monotony. This week, I'm also thinking of like more interpersonal manifestations of this. I'm sure you guys have heard of this, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's like apathy. And I think it's like philosophically or conceptually, it's coming from the same place of existence versus non-existence. Like if you're in a fight with someone you like or someone you value, and the fight continues, people say, this is a good thing because there's at least something from the other person that shows, they want to sort this out with you, or they want you to know how they feel. They care about you, they care about how you feel. So the fact that there is something, even if it is seemingly negative, is still a good sign rather than there being nothing or just silence, or like passiveness. Okay, so before we get to the in short, I'll just read this part again. Life, the most brilliant light of existence, proceeding through different circumstances, finds strength. It encounters varying situations and is purified. It takes on numerous qualities and produces the desired results and enters many stages and displays comprehensively the impresses of the bestower of life's names. At Receiving Nur, I think one of the main topics we always connect to is the beautiful names. So I'm excited for this next part we're going to read because it connects this like belief in Qadar with manifestations of the beautiful names and how it should play in my life. Okay, in short, since life displays the impresses of the most beautiful names, everything that happens to it is good. For example, an extremely rich and infinitely skillful person who is proficient in many crafts, for an hour and in return for a wage, clothes a miserable wretch in a bejewelled, artistically fashioned garment. This garment he made in order to make the miserable man act as a model and to display the works of his art and his extensive wealth. He works the garment on the man, gives it various forms, and alters it. In order to display every variety of his art, he cuts it, changes it, and lengthens and shortens it. Can the poor man receiving the wage be justified if he says to the person, "You're giving me trouble. You're making me bow down and stand up. By cutting and shortening this garment, which makes me more beautiful, you're spoiling my beauty." Does he have the right to tell him, "You're acting unkindly and unfairly"? Thus, like him, in order to display the impresses of his most beautiful names, the all-glorious Maker, the Peerless Creator, alters within numerous circumstances the garment of existence. The garment of existence he clothes on living creatures, bejewelled with senses and subtle faculties like eyes, ears, the reason, and the heart. He changes it within very many situations. Among these are circumstances in the form of suffering and calamity, which show the meanings of some of his names, and the rays of mercy within flashes of wisdom, and the subtle instances of beauty within those rays of mercy. Okay, so this is the setup of our metaphor. Life displays the impresses of the most beautiful names, and because it is that place for display, everything that happens to it is good. And so we're told to imagine a really rich and skillful person, artist, who gives you a wage and asks you for an hour to model for him so that he can show his art, his craft, his skills with the kinds of clothing he makes you wear. And so you can imagine if you've ever seen like a tailor or these like couture or I don't know, high fashion sort of like designers, like what they do to their models, right? It's kind of like this. Those models, like they stand up for really long periods of time. They have to sometimes like change stuff about their body so that whatever they're wearing looks better, or be in like awkward situations or like positions or whatever. But they get paid and they wear these really beautiful things in the end. So here the question is, can the person who's modeling, who's being paid, and whose job is to be the platform for this art to be displayed, can they start complaining? And can they say, oh, you're making me stand up for too long. You're making me move my arms this way. You're making me bow down, stand up. Why are you cutting the dress this way? Why are you shortening the garment? It looked more beautiful this way. Does that model have the right to tell the artist that he's acting unkindly and unfairly? Right? So this is the setup of our question. And then obviously we can see like what each of those roles represent in our lives. So like him, in order to display the impressions of his most beautiful names, the all-glorious maker, the peerless creator, God in this metaphor is represented by the skillful artist who has clothed us in existence and life, and by putting us through different circumstances in life, he shows different manifestations of his names. So I am made to feel hunger so that when I actually get food and I am full, I'm satisfied, I can see and I can show, like through my very creation, existence in that moment, the name of Al-Razzaq, right? The provider. Or when I am having a loving moment with my mother, with my brother, I can be a display for his name, Wadud or Rahman. So different circumstances in my life, in my creation existence, continually are showing or displaying the impresses of these beautiful names. And we're told, right? He clothes on living creatures. Oh, the garment of existence he clothes on living creatures, bejewelled with senses and subtle faculties like eyes, ears, the reason, and the heart. So the different capabilities I'm created with as a human being are these decorations on the garment of existence. And he changes it within very many situations. So similarly, when I am suffering these calamities or tribulations, they are also meant to display different the beautiful names of God and make me a living example of that manifestation of the name. Yes, Siba.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
So, when we were discussing beautiful names of God, I realized like we had like our halaqah on Asma Husna. So the calamities or the needs that we are given, like maybe a person didn't grow up in a very compassionate household, the mother was not as compassionate as you would expect a mother to be. So I felt like that once you have it's a calamity for the person who is in that relationship, because the default is that you expect the mother to be more nurturing and more loving and kind and all that thing. So when that's that is not fulfilled, that calamity brings out something in the person. It can go either way, but what I've been um, um, like reflecting on is that most people who have felt that way, they might it's the way of Allah polishing that name of Wadud through them, and then they become the adornment, like that becomes their adornment, and they are bejeweled, like they are clad with that jewel of wood or the loving, so they become the channel for love for their kids or anyone else nearby who who wants that love. So that was like the metaphor that is given here about the person who is who didn't have those characteristics, but he was tailored, and the person who was designing the dress for him bejeweled him with those jewels. So that's like, I always see it as that way, like you become the beholders of that name of Allah, which I think through a calamity you were able to realize that you didn't get it. So you become a channel for that name. So that's how like you become carrier of that name of Allah, and that's how you. I think it's like a badge, you own that name more than other names because it was deficient, so you would like to channel it more, and it can be for other names as well. And even during sickness, like if you can connect to your sickness as seeing the healing, then it becomes shahada, and then you are visual with the name of a shafi, that you saw it. So it's both ways, like you can become a channel of it, or you can be a witnesser, and then you can witness a shafi in action. So these are the two ways which comes to my mind of how this metaphor is working.
Thank you, Ziba. Yes, Minna, go ahead.
Okay, so I want to say something. I have been very interested in these days, and when I read here, like he closed on living creatures, like with senses. So about these senses, I want to tell you. Okay, so we get hungry, right? We crave for food. Maybe you have been hearing about it as well, about these weight loss drugs, right? GLP-1. So they are everywhere, and I have so many friends. So many people around me. Today I went to the dentist. She was using it and she lost 40 pounds or something like this. And I was trying to, see what is going on, what is the mechanism and everything behind it. So these GLP-1 drugs, they kind of, they cancel, how can I say, they cancel your appetite. You don't feel hungry. So if you don't feel hungry, you're not going to crave food, right? So you don't eat food for hours. And for me, it's really interesting. They came up with this kind of a solution. I was expecting something more sophisticated, but no, they're just, you don't crave for food. But there is, I was reading about the side effects and everything. The thing is, some of these people, they forget to eat, like for hours and hours. So we I do have a weight problem from time to time. So I always complain, oh, I have this huge appetite, I enjoy food, I wish I didn't have any. I was asking for non-existence of this sense, kind of, in a way. And then, so these people, okay, they don't crave food, they don't get hungry, okay, they're losing weight, but the side effect is they are losing their muscles. So because we have to eat, right? We have to eat to survive. If you don't eat nothing, you will start to lose your protein, your main structure of your muscles and everything, and it is not healthy. And actually, it happened to another friend. She was writing to me and she said, oh, she lost consciousness, she fell on floor, something like that, because she was doing this strict diet for a long time, and then now she doesn't get hungry anymore. So now it affects her nervous system. Now she is feeling weak. Although she lost so many like pounds. So there should be a balance, and I think we shouldn't ask for non-existence of our senses. So I just want to share this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minna. I remember maybe, I don't know, 7 years ago. We had a retreat with Receiving Nur, and Dr. Yamina had said something about something we hear a lot, which is like when we talk about really rich people and how they spend their money or how they don't spend their money, people say, oh, that rich person could end world hunger, or they could do this, they could do that. And we were talking about what does it mean to end world hunger, or like end hunger. And it was like, okay, we don't want the feeling of hunger to disappear, right? Like you were saying, it exists for a reason, because through the existence of hunger or thirst or sickness, and only through those feelings and their or needs and the fulfillment of those needs do the names manifest, at least for us to like see it. So this was a really good example. Thank you for that. Another thing I was reminded of is when I was in university, I used to attend like these, the university, like they do workshops and seminars on like wellness and social wellness, physical wellness, et cetera, et cetera. And they have one session that's mandatory that's about like abuse in relationships. And I remember the presenter said something like, most people who are in abusive relationships, they don't want the relationship to end, they want the abuse to end. So it kind of reminds me of this when I don't want a complete disappearance of hunger, right? Even though that seems like a good solution to lose weight. Because when I do that, I'm missing the wisdom in why it was created in the first place. So the reason that I get sick, I get hungry, I get thirsty, it was all created for a reason with a plan. And my immediate solution when I, face any calamity or suffering or challenge is like, I wish I could get rid of this totally. Even with different kinds of food, like people say, oh, eating food takes so much time. I wish I could just eat like a meal replacement kind of thing, like a smoothie that has all the nutrients I need. And I would just eat it once a day and it would take like 10 minutes and that would be good. But if I actually lived like that, then I'm missing out on all these impresses of the beautiful names, right? So he's not just the absolute provider, but he's also creating with so much subtlety. He's creating in a way that is infinitely like beautiful, not just in how the food looks, but how it smells, how it tastes, so much variety. Each thing that grows according to season is meeting my need for that season, right? Like we get citrus fruits in the winter. We get more like water dense fruits in the summer. These are all being created according to a plan, but when I am displeased or when I don't see the wisdom in their creation, my immediate solution is to just get rid of the whole order. Like, oh, let's just not feel hunger at all. Let's just not eat at all. Let's just not sleep at all. Just take this pill and you'll have energy for the whole day. Why was I created with the need for sleep in the first place? Or why do I get hungry? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? So I really do like this example. And the changes in the bejewelled his senses and subtle faculties. Let me see here. Aziba said, we're missing the opportunity to see his beautiful names in the process of eating. Right. So I think, and this goes back to what we talked about last week, which was I don't want to get rid of, or not that I don't want to, but the solution isn't to get rid of pain, anxiety, fear altogether. It's to welcome it, experience it in a conscious manner. Same way with food or eating. If I'm eating unconsciously or without seeing the impressions of the beautiful names, then I do get bored, right? Something that I think Sarah, you mentioned maybe 2 weeks ago was a reflection you had while you were washing the dishes. If you're just washing the dishes and there's no reflection on the beautiful names, washing dishes is one of the most mundane tasks in the world. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to handle soggy food, leftovers, clogged drain. It's disgusting. But if I'm taking the opportunity to reflect on his beautiful names, the one who is clean, the one who cleans, right? The one who purifies, the one who is pure, then my washing the dishes is completely transformed. I still have to wash the dishes. It's just in a completely different state of mind.
And just to add to that, to kind of complexify the example a bit more, because all of these examples are just some examples to make us relate to this larger point about beautiful names of God. And there's so many beautiful names. So when you were talking about, food, and eating the food, of course, there's also somebody, if a person wants to be efficient, perhaps certain days of their week and so on, and that efficiency, that need for efficiency, and spending less time trying to cook a meal or eat a meal, that is also is seeking another name. I'm just giving it as an example, not as a counterexample, but or washing the dishes. I got these new gloves. They're longer. I love them. And so like somebody came out, it's gooey and you don't want to, touch them in cold water, doesn't want to. And then somebody comes up with, let's make some, gloves so that people can use it for cleaning, for washing the dishes. That is also manifesting another beautiful name. Somebody comes up and says, well, how about we design a machine so people don't have to actually I mean, this is just an example, not to counter what you're saying, but add to that. There's so many things that start manifesting because of the problems, that the tensions, the pain. I find it actually exciting too, especially when I see it on other people. This person's struggling through this, but they're growing, or or like easy examples like dishes. Um, I mean, even not to make it in any light of it, but I do feel, even watching some scenes from Palestine, for instance, the way the people are being resilient. Again, I don't mean to say what's happening is, of course, heartbreaking, and I don't mean to say that they are iron people who are able to, be resilient with everything. But in those difficult circumstances, so much beauty and so much um, resourcefulness is manifesting, from the littlest children to adults running around, trying to help, trying to do things, trying to build, trying to rebuild. Some, there are so many examples. This man had actually digged. There was this story in Al Jazeera. Their homes were destroyed, and Israel is not letting tents in. The man had digged a huge uh, thing in the ground, made a room inside the ground. Uh, it was incredible. He was showing how you can't believe like what he did, and he connected even like rooms, I think, and so much. Of course, it's easier looking from outside to say, well, a lot of beauty is manifesting through difficulty. At least we can understand, as Dr. Yamina had said earlier, that inshallah we surrender trustingly because number one, we know God with his beautiful names. Number two, we chose to acknowledge our maker's rububiyyah and surrender to obey his will. That was in the chat.
Yeah, I think those examples are great actually, because a common misunderstanding here could be I'm just gonna let life happen as it does, because it's manifesting the names of God, without exerting my own free will, which is my responsibility. So, even with the dishwashing example, dealing with dishes can be gross. It doesn't mean, oh, I hate it, I'm gonna suffer forever, but at least I'm thinking about the beautiful names of God. I should still think, how can I make this more pleasant? Because I also have a need for that.
Or maybe rather than I should, I am made to. When I am made to dislike it, I find myself disliking it, and I find myself wanting something easier, cleaner, better, and I find myself inspired to seek another way. And if I'm honest with myself and I'm present that this is a call, then I follow the call consciously in the name of God, Bismillah, and I will be made to witness new ways he's manifesting his beautiful names in my life. And if, as you said, Nurbanu, I say, I just have to make do with this, but at the same time, I'm ignoring or the other feelings there. That's a calling. I am not being honest. I'm just choosing to ignore that because for some reason, like we do all the times, for instance, I'm being lazy, or whatever reason. But in any case, we are always called on to pursuing the manifestation and of the beautiful names of God in ever changing and ways, more and more beautiful in different ways, different intensities, different combinations of names. Otherwise, we're just cheating, deceiving ourselves.
Okay, tell me if this is tangential or if this is a good place to talk about this. I think it's hard, or it can be hard to discern when I'm being called to do something or when I'm being inspired, to differentiate if it's coming from like a divine source or if it's actually my ego or shaitan or something. Because I feel like if I can give kind of like a vague example, I'm in a challenging situation and I don't like being in the situation. I feel pain, or I feel hurt, I feel angry. And in those moments, I find in myself this sort of clash. One part of me is obviously not happy with what's going on, but says, oh, maybe this is a moment for me to practice patience, or maybe like this is my, like, actually staying in this situation and finding a way to deal with it, or enduring, is my test, or is finding a way to leave or end the situation. Is that what I'm supposed to do, or is that me running away? You know, I don't know if that the question make sense, but I feel like here the idea is, okay, I need to be honest with what I'm feeling and not ignore what I'm being called to do. But I myself, I feel like, have a difficulty differentiating if it's me and my like levels of ego just fighting each other.
Yeah, it's a very legitimate question, and it's an important question. I'm sure we all face this situation. I think we need to remember that before the doing, before having clarity about what I need to do, we need to focus on who we choose to be at that moment. And we need to focus on that first. So I have to renew my intention to surrender, my intention to totally accept whatever is created. What does it mean? It means, for instance, something challenging is happening. So I don't know what kind of challenging thing. If it's an illness, for instance, so we make it, there is no other party involved. The fact that I am anxious and there is fear, what will happen, what's going to happen to me with this illness, and this is all fitri. Now, if I go that path and I'm totally focused on what will happen and only the bad things that will happen, I am not, it means I'm disconnected from the reality that I'm being created this way for a reason. ما خلقت هذا باطلا. It's not without purpose, meaning it's not without hikmah, not without rahmah. So I need to first reconnect and be present with my Rabb, that whatever is the way, whatever or however I'm being created right now is willed. Someone is in control, someone knows, and he is wise, he creates with wisdom, with rahmah. And I find that fear, that anxiety in me, that dislike for the situation in me, and I stay with it until I make peace with it, that it's not from me. Someone, whoever is giving me this, is also guiding me to seek wellness, for instance. And so I start seeking wellness, but from a place of surrender, a place of, even if it's going to take time for me to learn to make peace with surrendering and with accepting what's going on, it's something that we need to practice. But the whole thing is, I could be seeking wellness and health, but with anxiety from the ego. What will happen to me? I need to do this. And when I find, let's say I found people were healed when they did this and that. So I'm totally focused on the means that I'm using and giving it the power of healing. So even if I'm healed, I miss the whole point. There is no Isma Husna there. There's no beautiful names, and there is a disconnect with my creator. I could be doing something similar, but feeling that I'm guided. I try this in the name of God. I'm in communication with Allah, whatever I'm doing. Then, even if I'm not always, even if I miss the right action or the right path, even if I make a mistake, if I'm always going back to asking for help, asking for sabr, asking for guidance, then I will be redirected. And that's what counts, not what I do ultimately. So maybe I did that because I was running away from this. But if I'm always revising my intention and always making istighfar, always asking Allah to forgive me and guide me to the right path in case I am missing the point. And I'm looking at my intention to truly, truly, I say yes, and I am at peace with whatever you create for me. And when I dislike it, the dislike is also from you. So I thank you. I'm in a state of hamd and shukr, of the thanks and gratitude and praising God, my Rabb. Then eventually, even if I miss the exits, sorry, I will be, the inner GPS will take me back to that connection, that state of ubudiyah. And Allah will transform our mistakes into hasanat, inshallah, as we are told in the Quran.
Okay, this is, I think, for me at least, something that I have to keep working on, because I feel like it's something that we've talked about for a couple of sessions. Obviously, it's something that we talk about a lot, but especially more recently, we keep highlighting that it's not what I do that's ultimately like top priority, but it's my intention, my, state of mind, and my asking for guidance, my intention to surrender. But I feel that it's hard to get to that level because nowadays everything is so result oriented. So the way I judge myself or my life is through looking at actions and results, actions and results. But my creator is not judging me that way, actually. So it's just something I have to practice.
If we are stuck in action and results, then it's a big red flag, because it means we're stuck into cause and effect, deterministic, horizontal way of perceiving the world, which is totally flawed, totally ungrounded. That's not how the creation happens, even from a totally physical perspective. And so we want to break that misguided way of looking at life, at events. So this is a good opportunity, actually. It does not mean that we don't care about the result, but we're focused on the one who creates the results, on the source. And the result and the action with there is still action, but we start with inner action, and we are then we will be more sensitive to when there is when we are inspired, when we are nudged to take action, to take inspired action. And sometimes we'll start even catching ourselves. I should have done that. I was actually inspired to take action and I didn't.
Mm.
And I realized that I should have. So we start being waking up, and we start realizing that the world does not operate in a deterministic way. It operates in totally different ways. And when we start paying attention, we will start realizing that I prayed for something, and then, yes, it came through causes, it came through the creation, but in totally unexpected ways. It's like Allah put people in my way, situations in my way. I could have missed that. So it's not really deterministic. If we are not in that state of connectedness with our Rabb, then it may feel like it was just a chance event, or I was happy, I was lucky, but still we don't see the bestower behind. So actually it is this way of living, striving to be connected to our Rabb and to ask from him and focus our intention and our perception on him, and on how, as far as we're concerned, of course, as far as we can understand and feel, if we are inspired to do something, or at least when we ask ourselves, is it the right thing? We feel when it's not the right thing. At least, even if we're not sure if it's the right thing, we know when it's wrong. When it's wrong, it's much clearer. So at least start by staying away of whatever we think is wrong. We are taking action out of reaction, out of anger, out of whatever. The moment we ask the question, it starts getting clearer and clearer. And life will start getting more and more meaningful and more exciting, and more, as he said here, there is no monotony. Even if you are always in the same place, but you realize that every day is a new, beautiful names, new interactions, new feelings, everything is new every day. Alhamdulillah. And you find that people are, planning vacations and this and that and events just to feel different, because they're bored. Every day is the same. They want to break the routine. But you realize that, yes, we can break the routine out there, but very quickly that will also become a new routine. But when we break it inside, then everywhere is light. And when we are in a new, more beautiful, better place, then it is light upon light. Nurun ala nur.
Yeah, even I don't know, those like inspiration pages online, they say this thing, right? Like if you are unhappy or depressed or whatever else, even if you move to a new country, if you start a new school, a job, if you get into a relationship, if you leave a relationship, if you get a haircut, if you completely renovate every part of your life, because you haven't done any inner work, you will return to that state of, depression or sadness or fatigue really quickly, even if you've changed everything outside. So that tracks, I guess.
Sure.
Okay. Would anyone like to share anything or ask any questions based on this conclusion for the fourth topic or the metaphor that we have been talking about? Okay, if not, I'll start reading the conclusion. Let's see. Conclusion: 5 paragraphs which silenced the old Said's rebellious, proud, vain, conceited, and hypocritical soul, and compelled it to submit. First paragraph. Since things exist, and they are full of art, they surely have a maker. As is decisively proved in the 22nd word, if everything is not one person's, then each thing becomes as difficult and problematical as all things. Since someone made the earth and the heavens and created them, for sure that most wise and skillful being would not leave to others living beings, which are the fruits, results, and aims of the heavens and the earth, and spoil his work. Making it futile and without purpose, he would not hand over to others all his wise works. He would not give their thanks and worship to others. Second paragraph. O my conceited soul, you resemble a grapevine. Do not become proud. The vine itself did not attach the bunches of grapes. Someone else attached them. Third paragraph. O my hypocritical soul, do not become vain, saying, I have served religion. According to the meaning of the saying, God strengthens this religion by means of sinful men, it was because you were not purified. Indeed, you should know yourself to be such a sinful man, and that your duty and worship is thanks for past bounties, for these are the function of your nature, incumbent on you due to your creation, and the result of art. Know this, and be saved from vanity and hypocrisy. Fourth paragraph. If you want knowledge of reality and true wisdom, gain knowledge of Almighty God. For the realities of beings are rays of the divine name of truth and the manifestations of his names and attributes. The reality of all things, whether physical, non-physical, essential, non-essential, and the reality of all human beings is based on a name and relies on its reality. Things are not merely insignificant forms without reality. There is a brief discussion of this mystery at the end of the 20th word. O my soul, if you long for the life of this world and flee death, know certainly that the conditions you suppose to be life are only the minute in which you are. All the time previous to the present minute, and the things of the world within that time are dead in the present minute. And all the time subsequent to the present minute, and all it contains are non-existent in it, and nothing. That means the physical life on which you rely is only 1 minute. Some of the learned even said it was a tenth of a minute, rather the passing instant. It is due to this mystery that certain saints stated that with regard to this world is non-existent. Since it is thus, give up the physical life of the soul, rise to the level of life of the heart, spirit, and inner faculties. See what broad sphere of life they have. For them, the past and the future, which for you are dead, are living. They are existent and full of life. O my soul, like my heart, you too weep and cry out and say, I am ephemeral, I do not want another who is thus. I am impotent, I do not want another who is thus. I have surrendered my spirit to the most merciful, I do not want another. I want another, but let him be an eternal friend. I am a mere atom, but I desire an everlasting son. I am nothing, yet I wish for these beings, all of them. Fifth paragraph. This paragraph occurred to me in Arabic, and so it was written thus. Also, it recalls one of the 33 degrees of reflection in the recitation, God is most great. God is most great, the eternal, all-knowing, all-wise, most generous, most compassionate, all-beauteous, the inscriber, the pre-eternal. What is the reality of the universe in its entirety and its parts, and its pages and levels, and what is the reality of beings altogether and singly, in their existence and continuation, but the lines of the pen of his determining and decree, and his setting in order and determining with knowledge and wisdom? What are they but the skilful inscriptions of his knowledge and wisdom, and regulating and forming, with art and favor, the adornments of the shining hand of his art and favor, and embellishing and illuminating, with grace and munificence, the flowers of the subtleties of his favor and munificence, and making known and loved, with mercy and bounty, the fruits of the effusions of his mercy and bounty, and pity and compassion, with beauty and perfection, the flashes and manifestations of his beauty and perfection through the testimony of the transience of the mirrors and the ephemerality of the places of manifestation and the permanence of that transcendent eternal beauty and its constant manifestation and appearance throughout the passage of the seasons, centuries, and ages, and the perpetual bestowal of bounties throughout the passage of creatures and days and people. Indeed, a perfect work points to one possessing intellect who performs a perfect act, and the perfect act points to one with understanding who possesses perfect names, and the perfect names point to the perfect attributes, and perfect attributes point to the perfect qualities, and the perfect qualities point to the perfection of the essence from which they proceed, and this is absolutely certain. Indeed, the ephemerality of the mirrors and death of creatures, together with the perpetual manifestation and constant effulgence, is the clearest of proofs that their apparent beauty does not belong to the places of manifestation. It is the most eloquent statement and clearest argument for transcendent beauty and renewed bestowal to the necessary existent, to the enduring one, to the loving one. O God, grant blessings to our Master Muhammad from pre-eternity to post-eternity, to the number of things encompassed by divine knowledge, and to his family and companions, and grant them peace. Okay. So, let's go back to the beginning. This is the conclusion of the 26th word. There's an addendum and a little section after. This is one of the, I guess, rather shorter treatises, but it's very full, packed, I guess. So here in the 5 paragraphs, what we're supposed to read, and I guess like what's included in them, has silenced the old Said's rebellious, proud, vain, conceited, and hypocritical soul. So old Said is Imam Nursi divides his life into 2/3 eras. The old Said is his life up till basically when he started actually writing the Risale-i, as it stands now. In that era of his life, he was very active. He was a scholar, and he was involved in politics in his own way at the time. He was trying to open a madrasa, and this, I guess, part of his life coincided with the fall of the Ottoman Empire and the beginnings of the Turkish Republic. But he was a well-known, widely renowned scholar. So the, imperial, I guess, scholars, they knew him. He served in the, how would you translate this? As a scholar for the Sultan. So this old Said is very accomplished. And he totally has, transformation in his life when he realizes, okay, the tenets of faith and the miraculousness of the Quran, and the necessity of prophethood, these are very, very fundamental things that need to be preserved and fought for, especially during that kind of like tumultuous time. He starts writing, the words. And so when we're talking, this conclusion, the beginning of this, right, is 5 paragraphs to silence the old Said's rebellious, proud, vain, conceited, hypocritical soul. If you just read that, you would think, oh, what kind of man was he? But he, this is like well-known, respected scholar, and this is how he addresses his own nafs. So that always
Not
is like
only a well-known scholar, but also an ascetic person living always, even that time, he was very strict in his life and very, very pious by the standard that we know.
yeah. He left his home really early on to start getting like a madrasa education. And so, yeah, it's always interesting to think about his self-reflection in this way, because yeah, for a man who has lived like this from the age of 9, to be battling his nafs in this way, or even addressing himself in this way, is, I find myself like making all sorts of excuses for myself. So when I'm reading these paragraphs, I don't want to take them personally, you know?
He was also someone who stood against authorities to stand with justice for the oppressed or anything. He didn't fear the powers, whether the Sultan or later the secular anti Islam republic. He was always also standing his ground and standing with the weak and the oppressed from the very beginning when he was 17, 18. Because he finished madrasa very early. He was also very gifted.
Yeah. So we'll just reread the first paragraph, and when we meet again after Ramadan, we'll go through these again. And I think, inshallah, Ramadan can become, can prime us for this self-reflection, inshallah. So first paragraph here is, since things exist and they're full of art, they surely have a maker. As is decisively proved in the 22nd word, if everything is not one person's, then each thing becomes as difficult and problematic as all things. Since someone made the earth and the heavens and created them, for sure, that most wise and skillful being would not leave to others living beings, which are the fruits, results, and aims of the heavens and the earth, and spoil his work. Making it futile and without purpose, he would not hand over to others all his wise works. He would not give their thanks and worship to others. Something that I've read and I've heard from others who read Imam Nursi's work is they always get surprised by how much he underlines this full of art aspect of creation. And you know, when you look at the names he's using, he'll often use, you know, the name Asani, the one who creates artfully, the one who creates beautifully, the beautiful one, the artful one, the one who beautifies, the one who decorates, the one who colors, the one who, not just physically, but existence being artful is always something that he emphasizes. And he always connects this to they must have a maker if they are so artful like this.
Because it's not something you can explain with causes. Why is it like this? Why are the blood cells round? Or because of functionality. It doesn't make sense. It's illogical, the explanation, but that's what science does, for instance. But why is it this color? Why is it all these colors and this shape and this everything is decorated and so beautiful and artful? What can you say? Clearly, there is purpose there, there is willing, there is choice. You cannot explain it with because it fulfills this function or that function. It's a very strong argument, and it gives satisfaction to the heart because it speaks to the heart. Beauty is something that we appreciate for no reason. That's how we created. Subhanallah.
Yeah, and it's right, it's fitri to appreciate beauty, right? Because yeah, like you said, everyone loves seeing like a beautiful sunset or a sunrise or a pretty flower. And so much so that those kinds of small passing experiences of beauty, people sometimes talk about those experiences as what makes life worth living, right? If, they're not coming from like a belief perspective, you'll see people talk about, oh, I was feeling very down today. I was questioning, like, why do I exist? Why am I alive? And then they experience something beautiful and they say, oh, like, this is making it worth living. So it's such a powerful experience. And yeah, like Dr. Yamina said, it's not something that can be explained away. So since things exist and they are full of art, they surely have a maker. And we've talked extensively about this, right? Everything that exists, because they're interconnected, has to be under the domain and control, execution of one being. It can't be divided up or, shared.
Assalamualaikum. So
Walaikum.
I was talking to someone and they had like polyps, I guess, like cancerous cells or like polyps in their uterus. And she told me that like she prayed the hajj and she was supposed to get surgery and she prayed the hajj and she made dua, a lot of dua, and like she went and got her scans again and like everything became normal. Like everything, she didn't even need like surgery anymore. And the doctor was shocked, and she's like, "What did you do?" Right? The doctor was asking the person that I talked to, like, "What did you do? Like, how did this happen?" She was in shock. So like, I feel like that's how Allah can heal anything, and He has like the power to do anything He wants. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's like what we were talking about earlier, right? Dr. Yamina said not to get stuck in the cause and effect or deterministic worldview. So if like we can truly experience that, and we know that the cells in my body or my condition, my illness, my disease, the medicine, those have no power actually to change anything about my life. They're all agents being created. Then my way of dealing with the sickness is totally transformed because I'm not asking for help from the medicine, from the surgery, from the doctor. I know they are channels or causes, but it's through them that God, my maker, my creator, the creator of my body, my uterus, my cells, is showing his names. So once I actually tune into that, he can create what he wants for me. And yeah, so that goes back to everything being interconnected, right? So everything is being created, maintained, sustained by Allah, by God, His rububiyyah, which is something that we keep talking about. But it's something that we also have to keep practicing to experience, stay present with. And inshallah, we will have a Living the Quran series after Ramadan on ubudiyya. So on my role as abd in response to my maker's rububiyyah, inshallah. Okay, so it is 10, and I don't want to obviously go more into this just because I know we'll pick back up here. So I'll take any last questions, concerns, comments, and we'll ask Dr. Yamina if she has any heart work for us over Ramadan, and then we'll see you guys on Saturday, inshallah, for Ramadan Quran Feast.
I guess like going through difficulty, it molds us to become better. So like if you go through something, we tend to like complain, we're like, why me? Why is this happening? And we don't understand like the bigger picture. And once like years go on and then you realize, wow, like I don't know why was I complaining because of this problem. I like became a businesswoman, or I opened my own business, or I got married to a better person. So like we need to internalize the message that Allah is trying to show us or guide us through, I guess, if I make sense.
Yeah. And I think I guess that's the hardest part, right? Because
Yeah.
when we talk about internalizing, that's the talking, the halakha, the thinking. Those are things we're very good at. But then when it comes to, pausing, experiencing, like reflecting, those are a bit more hard. As like if you're more type A person. Um, so, but inshallah, we will make an intention, make a decision, and not be lazy, and do the inner breakthrough for that, breaking the routine. Ziba said in the chat, this is a verse from the Quran, I believe. O my two companions of prison, are separate lords better, or Allah, the one prevailing? Right. So goes back to the first paragraph we talked about here. And Dr. Yamina's heart work for us is commit to daily reading the Quran, recitation, and with tadabbur as much as possible, inshallah, even if it's 1 page daily. So I'm sure most of you will do Khatm al-Quran throughout Ramadan. As we do recitation, let's also pair it with reading with tadabbur, with reflection, with trying to understand what we're reading, pausing, and thinking about like the meanings of the verses, inshallah. Okay, let me make the dua here and I'll do final reminders. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim wa akhiru da'wakum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha ila rasulina salawat.